The other day I got a comment from a guy named Bob. I forget the last name. I'll put it up on the screen so you guys can see. And he was asking about the 600s, because he wants to know, just like everyone else, every other fucking person in the world wants to know, hey man, I want to start at a 600. Your 600 looks and sounds so cool, I want one too. I don't want to fuck around with them 250s. I just want to go straight for the 6. And you know what, man, respect. I get it. Wanted to start on a 6. I mean, I guess I'm a lot more of a cautious individual than most of you guys, because when I was getting into motorcycling, the reason why I got into it was because of the Ninja 250. After reading about how easy it is to learn on and all that jazz, that's what gave me the courage to go out there and try it out. I mean, if there were no Ninja 250s, I probably never would have even tried motorcycles. I just wanted something easy to learn. I didn't want something huge and intimidating like a 600. When you guys want to get a new bike, you got to consider a couple things. One, you got to consider that there's a huge learning curve with motorcycle. It's not like cars. When I'm in my car, I relax so much because I don't have to even think about half the shit I got to think about when I'm on my motorcycle. For instance, road conditions really aren't even like a registered thought when you're in a car. Corners aren't a concern with you. You don't really think about it. You just turn the wheel and you go. But with a bike, everything you got to think about. Every single fucking thing. Turns, road conditions. Are you being seen by everybody around you? Your escape plan. You gotta practice how to brake quickly because you don't have anti-lock brakes. Unless you do have anti-lock brakes, then okay. But that's a topic for another day. So you guys gotta realize it's a huge learning curve. Now there are bikes that are designed to make that learning curve a lot easier, a lot less steep. And bikes like that are typically the parallel twin class bikes. Bikes such as the Ninja 250, Ninja 650, CBR500, CBR650. Do they still even make that? I don't know. The CB500, the CBR300, CBR250, the R3. What else? There's a whole bunch. There's a ton of bikes out there that make great beginner bikes. I mean, there's so many different options. If you're a new rider today, and you have some money to buy a new bike, which I don't really recommend. I would highly recommend you buy used, but you have so many fucking options. It's crazy. Before you guys look too far into this video, I'm going to link to you an article right up here. You can just, sorry, YouTube doesn't allow me to put links in the annotations. If you go into the description of the video, there'll be a link to an article, and it shows you all the stuff about super sports and, you know, what to consider before making the decision. And it kind of goes over all the arguments a lot better than I could, and it thoroughly explains why it's a bad idea to start on a 600. I guess you guys have already discovered my stance on the whole thing. I am one of those people who strongly believe that you should start on a 250, 650, 500, something of that nature, opposed to a 600. And Bob asked a question, which was a good question. He said, isn't there a way to restrict the power on the 600cc bikes? Isn't there a way to make the power so you can make it a little bit more manageable? You know, cut the bitch down from 110 horsepower to fucking 30, 40 horsepower. And yes, there are ways. I haven't really looked into it too much, or how easy or expensive it is to do, but I know it's possible because over in Europe, I believe, you can buy a 600 and they'll restrict the power down to just 30 horsepower or 40 horsepower or something like that. So there are options available for that. And there's also things like the Gixxer is one of the bikes that comes to mind with rider modes, the Gixxer 600. I think in 2008 or 2010, something like that, they started the rider modes. And it basically is A, B, and C mode. C is like 50% power, B is 25 or 75% power, and then A is 100% power. But I mean, I think all those things are great for new riders who really are stubborn and want to get a 600. But guys, it's not gonna change anything. Just restricting the power is not enough. The problem with these bikes is they have extremely strong brakes. Extremely strong brakes. I mean, in the front, they have two brake calipers. I believe the Gixxer actually has two Brembo brakes right on the front. And if it's not ABS, then you best believe that shit, if you squeeze it the wrong fucking way, too tightly, or on gravel or sand, then you're gonna go down. And then there's also things to consider. The clutch is very, very abrupt. When you let go of that clutch, it grabs super quick, and it does that. I mean, the Ninja 250, you can feel it, like there's a little bit more play in the clutch, I feel like, at least with my 300s and 250s opposed to my 600. And then there's, of course, the throttle, which even if you're able to restrict the power to so many cc's, it's still a super snappy throttle. I mean, sometimes I'm riding along, I'm in fucking like a high gear too, fourth, going relatively slow, and I hit like a speed bump and my hand twitches, and I give it too much throttle, and I feel her like jump, and it scares the shit out of you. I mean, things like that, if you're a new rider and that jumps and you get scared, you slap on the brakes, you got that fucking powerful ass brake, you lock up and you fucking fall down, and there you go, man. It's just, there's way too many factors when you're getting on a motorcycle to consider to really, for me to really recommend a 600 to a beginner. So because of all of that, I can't exactly recommend a 600. Now, if you're still convinced that you can handle the 600 and you still want the 600, then by all means, man, it's your life, it's your money. Some things to consider if you're going to start on a 600, I would be very mindful of that friction zone on the clutch so you don't be stalling in traffic. Even as a somewhat experienced rider, I still stalled the bike a few times on my first week or so of riding before I really got the friction zone down. Another thing too is the brakes. Be very mindful of the brakes. What I would say is make sure that you buy, I would highly recommend buying some shorty levers like the ones I got here. I believe these cost me $25 fucking, and they're so easy to use. 2 fingers will stop the bike, and that's all you need. I call it the 2-finger method. It's not too much force where you're gonna lock up the brakes. It's like it can apply just enough force to stop adequately without locking the brakes. Not saying you can't lock the brakes with 2-finger method, but it's going to be a little bit harder because squeezing 2 fingers is harder than squeezing your whole hand. Also, if you're going to start up on a 600, try to stay in the highest gear you can possibly stay in. Like, I'm doing 38 miles an hour and I'm in 6th gear, watch, full throttle, and I'm okay. There's a corner too. Again, I'm 38 miles an hour, 6th gear, full throttle. It doesn't take long to get up there though, you can only do full throttle for a few seconds, but I'm just trying to display that a quick twist in the throttle is not going to change much, it's not going to launch you. Now if I was down in 3rd gear, let me get around this corner so I don't fucking wipe. Oh man, there's another corner, but you can hear it rev up and get a lot louder. I don't know these corners very well. Yeah, see? And if you start on a 250, here's some advice for you. Remember that the worst part about starting on a 250 is, unfortunately, the fact it's the same reasons why it's good to start on the 250. The lack of the brake feels, the brakes aren't so great on the 250s. So the Ninja 250 brakes are really not that strong, so you really got to hit them pretty decent amount of force to get them to stop you. And the lack of like bite feel can be unsettling at times. 250s have tiny ass tires, man. Even the 300 has a small tire. I think it's like a 130, 140 on the rear. I mean, that's fucking tiny. And because of that, you have really no stability on the highway. The wind will blow you around like crazy. The small tire plus the fucking lightweight that they are, I mean, these 600s are like 30 pounds heavier, 40 pounds heavier. So that helps kind of stabilize everything when you're riding. Plus the steering stabilizer on these is fucking amazing. And that also helps. It's like a safety thing. So I think if a rider knows what he's doing and has learned how to overcome all the crap with this 600s, like the power band and everything and how touchy everything is, I think the 600s can prove to be a more, you know, safe bike because it responds so well to inputs. You hit the brakes real hard, you're going to stop real hard. And if you're an experienced rider and you know how much to apply, you'll stop within time. Opposed to the Ninja 250, it's going to take longer to stop. And on the highway, you have so much more power on the 600, you can actually power your way out of situations, whereas the 250, you gotta really be a lot more intelligent. I mean, you gotta be more intelligent than that. You can't just twist the throttle and get yourself out of situations. You're gonna have to pull in the clutch, downshift twice, and then twist the throttle, and usually by then it's too late. So with this 250, you're gonna have to consider just other options like going into other lanes and stuff. So that's all there is really, guys. I hope I answered your question, Bob. You can start out in the 600. 600s are amazing bikes, but they are not beginner friendly. You can handle it, just please do the tips that I said. Please wear your gear if you can, and just stay safe, man. So if you guys have a topic or a question you want me to do a video response of, just let me know in the comment section and I will do so if I find that the question was video worthy. This question about starting on a 600 has been asked 10 trillion fucking times and I've been avoiding it for so long, but Bob asked really nicely and I felt like I'd help out Bob. Anyway, guys, take care. I'll see you when I see ya. Take care. Bye-bye.